Hi, Stephanie. Welcome to the brag. It's so great to have you here.
Hi, Leah. Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. Been looking forward to this.
Yay. All right, let's start. Stephanie, you're a leadership strategist helping Fortune 500 executives navigate this new era of work within AI. Um, but I love this story about the Talent Summit, where you literally said out loud to 2,000 people that you might be freaking out and forgetting your point. What happened, and how did that vulnerability become a superpower?
Oh gosh, I've actually been trying to let this go for the past 2 years, and now we're going to talk about it. I've done letting go ceremonies and everything for it. It was actually amazing. Um, I have done a lot of public speaking, and I've done a lot of live, podcasts and things like this. But I've never been live in a room with
Mm,
2,000 people. And I was really nervous. But there was a moment I thought only about 2 or 3 minutes into the talk, but it had probably been about 7 or 8 minutes into the
yeah.
talk. And it was the kind of room, the way that it was set up was the 2,000 chairs were in the middle, and then all the stands were just around the outside. And it had been really noisy during a lot of the previous talks. But during my talk, whether it was the topic, whether it was me, whether it was just the time of day, whatever it was, the whole room was watching. And I felt this amazing connection. And my mind did this little thing of, wow, this is going really well. Everyone's really listening to you. And all of a sudden, my mind went, what the feck am I supposed to be saying next? What was the point that I was making? I mean, literally, like neural network shut down, complete blank. And I was off in the middle of the stage wearing like a really cool silvery skirt looking very AI. I shuffled back over to the podium to try to read my notes, and I just had my eyes lasered, and I couldn't actually figure out where I was in my notes. And then I could see Rob, who did run the talent summit. He's looking at me and he's looking at the watch, and I'm looking at the time going, I only have like a minute and a half left, and I haven't said any of the stuff I wanted to say. And I'm looking at the audience, and they're all looking at me because they've been so intently listening. And it was like, and I did actually say, I don't know if I used the F bomb or if I said feck or what I did, but I think it came out on, I'm going to freak out here. But I had just gotten certified in positive intelligence,
Hmm.
which is underpinned by neuroscience. And I've become fascinated in neuroscience. And I realized I was in a fight, flight, amygdala hijack.
Mm.
And I looked up and it was like, I have a choice. I cannot freak out, or I can just get on with this and do the best that I possibly can.
Yeah.
And I looked at the audience and I got this amazing feeling. And I actually had people come up to me afterwards and say they felt this. 2,000 people looking at me going, we're here for you. Keep
Oh,
going. Keep going. We're here for you. We're
no.
listening to you. Whatever you got to say, we're here for you. And I just said, you know what? I completely lost my point. I have no idea what it was that I was going to say next. Here's what I think is really important. I know that I'm at time. Rob's telling me to get off the stage. Here's the message you guys need to hear. And I just got on and said, your HR leaders, you need to understand AI in order to stay at the table. And, I went on with my bit. But the thing that was so insightful in that is I was so nervous afterwards that I was going to lose the plot again doing other talks that I started to really look into neuroscience, and I started to really follow like world famous speakers.
Mm.
And David J.P. Phillips in particular is somebody who I really have a huge respect for. And he has a whole formula of like all the different neuroscience that happens to your brain when you're listening, when you're talking, when you're in the audience, etc.,
Yeah.
and how to keep your audience engaged. But it also helps you as a speaker to know how do you want to connect with your audience. And it was that connection that I felt that day with the whole room just going, it's okay. It's okay.
Mm.
We've got you. I was just like, this must be what musicians feel like when they dive off the stage and like, everybody is holding them up. It felt amazing. So I have actually become a better speaker as a result of an incredibly embarrassing 30 seconds that most people say they don't remember, but I remember.
I love that. But people always respect authenticity over anything that's too, what's the word, scripted or rehearsed, right?
Well, as I said earlier, I'm really bad at doing an elevator pitch,
Yeah.
and I've stopped trying
Mm,
because it feels practiced. It doesn't feel
yes.
authentic. And if I lose somebody's attention before I can actually get out, when they say, well, what do you do? Or, what do you offer? Then, okay, then I've lost their attention.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but
Yeah.
I'm being me.
Yeah. I totally
So,
agree. I prefer to, instead of saying the same thing over and over again, is kind of depending what they do or what they say to me in a conversation, I'll try and kind of draw back examples to what we've just talked about, to make it more relevant rather than just give the standard blah, 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 blah.
yeah, yeah. I have a good friend of mine who is talking a lot about the conscious vulnerability that comes from authenticity.
Mm,
And I think being a leader in today's world and the new world of work, because things are so uncertain, being a leader right now is it's the hardest any of us have ever had to be a leader in, to
yeah.
try to actually make decisions for your business that are good for your people, good for your business, taking advantage of where AI and technology is, but also being smart about shifting global socioeconomic climate. There's just so much going on. Authenticity is what keeps you grounded in my book.
Oh, I completely agree. I could ask you a million other questions on that topic. Maybe we'll have to do another podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love chatting. Particularly if I don't have a script I'm trying to get out.
Exactly. Um, Okay, the holy shit moment, I'm actually doing this. There must have been a moment when you realized that SPC Consulting wasn't just a side hustle anymore. You're a real business owner. Yeah, paint a picture of what that light bulb moment was like for you.
Okay, so I'm actually going to give you two, but I'll try to be more concise in my answer. The first one was I had a friend tell me, don't wait till you get your first client to get registered. There's something psychological about getting registered that it just feels very real, and it forces you to be a bit more focused. So I did that, and when the stamp came in the post, and
Mm.
it's, I don't know if you have one yourself, but it's one of these big clamp things that looks like it came from like the 1800s, and it has your seal on it. And I was so proud to get that seal and stamp it on my first piece of paper. I went around like stamping pieces of paper all day. I'm like, this is just brilliant. So I actually framed, you know, what the stamp on a piece of paper, because I was like, this is just super cool. So that was one of my first, wow, this is just awesome. And then it was the follow up thought of, I don't have any clients yet. That was where the oh shit part came in. It's like, okay, I've set up a business, but I don't have any clients yet. So then the next moment of that was my first client was Aer Lingus,
Mm,
which was just
amazing.
absolutely amazeballs.
Yeah.
And I had done a huge amount of work to prepare for the actual deliverable, which was going into their facilities at the airport and delivering within their HR function to run a series of workshops
Yeah.
over a number of different months. And leading up to that, I did a bunch of discovery work, and those were all either one-to-one or online Teams calls. So driving into the airport and driving up to the Aer Lingus building and seeing the Aer Lingus sign, which is such a brand that we're so proud
Yeah.
of in Ireland, and I've been here 25 years, so I now see myself very Irish. Um, and to know that was my first customer, I just got like chills driving in, going, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually here and doing this." And so, yeah, that was just a really, really special moment. And I actually got a picture with my friend Seth Kyle, who was my client, who's the head of learning and development and talent in Aer Lingus. We got a selfie in front of the Aer Lingus sign.
Oh,
It was brilliant. So
I
I might have
love
to post that later on.
definitely. But
It's
big
my
shout
2 year
out.
anniversary from getting my seal.
Sorry.
It's my 2 year anniversary from starting the business
Oh,
and getting that seal in the post.
well, big congratulations. And it's like anyone who's an entrepreneur has their own business. Like it takes way longer than anyone anticipates.
You know,
Way
my
longer.
first job out of school, I studied advertising and communications. And I did an internship in advertising, and I thought, well, this is really good fun, but I don't think I could come up with 10
Mm,
jingles a day. That's just way too stressful. So I ended up going into sales and business development. So when I was starting my company 2 years ago, and everybody said, "Oh, the part that is really, really tough being an entrepreneur is having to promote yourself and sell yourself." And I thought, "Oh, that'll be fine for me. I'm a good salesperson. I can do that." Selling yourself
yeah.
is so different.
Yeah.
Coming up with an elevator pitch that doesn't sound like you're being boastful.
Yeah.
So, the whole purpose of why you created the brag, I just love
Yeah.
the philosophy that you've brought to it, because the idea of selling yourself I think that's one of the biggest barriers to
Yeah.
being a good entrepreneur, is having the self confidence to say what you do and not feel like you're bragging and that you're offering a service that you
Yeah.
think is a
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think that's why like this platform referrals can be so powerful. Um Mary Rose, who you just did a podcast with recently, who I've had as a guest here, and she was like, "Damn, can I bring you to events, please?" And you just introduced me because
exactly,
it's so
exactly.
different, right? When it's somebody else that's selling you.
We all need a wingman,
Yeah.
and there's even though I think a lot of us start from an entrepreneurial perspective with something that's in our head, I have really started to develop a lot of powerful partnerships over the past
Yes.
number of months.
Yeah.
And it's those partnerships that are actually really
Mm.
shifting the dial for me, both in how I'm connecting to my audiences and the way that
Yeah.
I'm framing my offering, um, but also in my own sense of confidence, because I know there's other people that think, not that you want people to think just like you, but that you don't feel like I'm off in the forest by myself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. No, no, no. I think partnerships is
Like,
huge.
you and I made that connection when we very first met, and just said we wanted to have a good chat.
Exactly. Exactly. I think it's values, isn't it? When you align values and not necessarily opinions, because you don't want to just end up always agreeing with each other, right? You need to have some what's the word?
Your point of view.
Yeah. As Lolly says, you don't want to be in an echo chamber.
Oh,
um,
yeah. Well, she certainly is a frontiers woman who, you know, isn't in an echo chamber for sure.
yes. Okay, the speaking circuit breakthrough. You're now the AI expert that everybody wants on their panels and stages. Walk us through how you went from consultant to sought after speaker. Was there one event that changed everything?
Um, there was, because it led to a chain of events. So I was working with Arlene Moore in HRM, and I have to give them a shout out because we've always had a great relationship. And um, they helped me when I was in EY hire my leadership team. And Arlene and I just developed a really strong partnership. And she knew that I was starting my business on providing advice, particularly within the HR community when I first started, on how to understand AI and its relevance in HR's role and that sort of thing. And they wanted to do a talk
Mm,
for senior HR leaders. and asked for me to lead that workshop. And to just be given the opportunity to do that when I didn't have a technical background, when I'm not,
Yeah.
I came from the HR world. I didn't come from the technology or the,
Yeah.
algorithmic side of things. I came, even though I do digital transformation, AI was still something that I was new, but I was ahead of the curve in Ireland. And
Okay.
she gave me that chance. And the room was jammed. So we were in Cork.
Mm.
We had about 120 HR leaders and senior people in the room, and everybody in Cork knows each other. So there was a really, really good
Mhm.
buzz. And it was just a cracking session. We all just, it just felt fantastic. It was super interactive. And I actually had somebody give me the compliment at the end of that. They had gone on, and this is no disrespect to IBEX because I am IBEX AI expert,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
AI was still very, very new. And she said, I went to IBEX conference yesterday, and I've actually learned more this morning in 45 minutes with you than I did at the conference yesterday. And it's
Wow.
just where she was in her learning. And
Yeah.
that really gave me the confidence to think I'm onto something.
Yeah.
And that gave me the courage, plus a friend of mine kind of egging me on, and who gave me the idea, well, why don't you speak at Talent Summit? And I was like, well, gosh, Talent Summit, that's a lot of people. That's a really big deal. That's like where professional people, go and speak. And she's like, oh, come on, no better woman, go do it. And so I picked up the phone and I rang Rob and said, I
Amazing.
want to be on stage. And it just ended up working out. The stars just ended up aligning, and that opportunity was able to come up. And then that's just led from there to loads of other stuff. And funny enough, I even just got a email request in yesterday to
Yeah.
do a talk for the civil service from somebody who had
Amazing.
seen me at Talent Summit last year.
Ah.
So it's funny how, and in Ireland, we really do all know each other. So,
Yeah.
from Arlene giving me that first opportunity,
Yeah.
from, the woman in Cork who actually gave me the compliment, and I'm now IBEX AI expert.
Which is
So,
incredible, brag.
it's just, yeah, it's just amazing how, all of these things kind of lead to each other.
Yeah. No, really amazing. Um, and then the power of saying no. So you're passionate about implementing AI when it makes sense, but not just for trends. Tell us about a time that you had to turn down money because it wasn't the right fit and how that actually ended up growing your business.
So that's a hard one because I can't really say I've turned money down. but
You can reframe
but
it. You can reframe it.
I have, um, if, the way that I frame this with
Yeah.
clients and with prospective clients is, don't come at AI like it's the shiny new thing that you've got to fit into what you do or what your solution is. And even just last week or 2 weeks ago, I was speaking with a prospective client who were telling me about a new MVP that they're developing.
Yeah.
And they were talking me through what the technology is. And they're like, do you think that we can fit AI into this type of architecture? Because it'll just sell better if we
Yeah.
say that it has AI in it. And I was like, well,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely. AI, I mean, there's very little that AI can't fit into. But my recommendation is that you always start with, what is your mission? What is your vision? What is the purpose? What is this minimum viable product designed to do? And is there something that AI can do to make those features or make the experience of using this tool better than using any other tool can? And if any other tool is going to work better than AI, it's probably going to be cheaper and
Yeah.
probably going to be easier to implement at this stage. So AI is not always the answer.
Mm.
And yet, sometimes senior leaders are like, well, it has to be the answer
Yeah.
because we're going into an AI led world. So could you just tell me what the answer is? So I always feel, going back to that authenticity, I feel a sense of responsibility
Mm.
when I'm trying to work with a client on not just educating on where the technical opportunities are, which again is not really my specialty, even though I can hold my own on the technical side. I'm much more on what's the customer experience that you're trying to get to, and how can AI help you with that?
Yeah.
What's the employee experience that you want to offer, and how can AI help with that? What are
Yeah.
your business targets you're going for? What are your operational priorities? So, what is your business, and then how AI is retrofitted into delivering that, as opposed to leading with the technology piece. And Mercer has just come out with a really nice report looking at what industry leading organizations are doing this year. The expectation this year was going to be that we were going to see these huge productivity gains of around 30-40%.
Mm.
And there was a big technology led push
Yeah.
across early adopters. And that hasn't happened because it hasn't been matched with the human leadership aspect to unlock that technology. So those big investors have pulled back and said, okay, we're actually going to look at how do we reprioritize our AI initiatives
Yeah.
so that we're looking at ones that can actually manage cost as best as possible, because cost is such a big issue at the moment, but also use humans to bring out the best of what AI's capability is.
Yeah.
And where Mercer is predicting is talent is now going to become at the forefront of where organization capability and organizational breakthrough
Mm.
is led by, with the technology being behind it. Even though the technology is more powerful than ever, we need talent and people to lead that. So
Yeah.
it's a really, they're so far ahead of the curve. I haven't heard any other organization talking about this yet, but it was a new
Yeah.
Mercer discussion with Raveen Jathuzan, and I just posted on it a couple days ago.
Oh,
So sorry, we went off piece there completely.
no, 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 no. It's good.
What was the original question?
Good. It's good. No, just the time that you've had to turn down a
So
project
yeah,
because AI didn't make sense.
so I didn't really turn the business down with the person, but I did give them a lot of look into this, consider this, look at this, and a
Yeah.
lot of sort of self-help that I wasn't going to charge them for, to help them really see you're better off understanding how AI is going to be able to support what you're trying to do, as opposed to here's all the ways that AI can fit into what you're doing. I think it's going to dilute what their MVP is designed to achieve.
Yeah, but I mean, I completely agree. I mean, there's so many people out there saying like, AI first, and a lot of tech companies that are coming out with their AI first um, approach, but it's definitely people and process first, 100%. Because if you haven't sorted those things out, then you're just going to throw AI at it and you're not going to make it any better. Just going to make it faster. As someone said before, you just make the crap go, the SHIT go faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having led transformation and change for 30 plus years, and adapting those change methodologies over 30 years, as we went from waterfall to agile to hybrid to, I've got a lot of my own models that I do now. Consistently, it's about the messy beginning and bringing people with you,
Yeah.
not having your I's dotted, not having your T's crossed, but really starting at that people centric. How is what we're looking at doing going to impact people? And unless you're doing a form of AI that's only in the back end at the moment, where people do exactly the same thing, but what they get back is just better and faster, almost everything else from an AI perspective is going to involve a human change.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
humans right now are feeling overwhelmed, and they're feeling like their organization needs to invest in them to continue to keep their skills relevant.
Mm.
And they need to invest in themselves to continue to stay relevant. So, in order to help people feel the confidence they need to invest their time and energy into understanding AI, organizations need to show how they're being put at the center and how they're going to be supported in order to bring that confidence and that upskilling growth mindset together.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. To make sense of that overwhelm.
Yes, absolutely. To cut through the overwhelm, to bring it
Yeah.
back to, okay, I can do this and I want to do this, and wow, this is actually quite cool.
Yeah.
And I'm in a position to be able to shape this rather than it being done to me.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And rather than the box ticking exercise was what I was the words that came to mind when you started off with answering this question around organization just being like, yeah, we just need to implement this,
Mm, mm,
without really questioning why.
yeah.
Right. um Crazily enough, we're at the last question already.
Wow.
um the network magic stories. So, all these women in leadership events that you're absolutely crushing, give us the story of one relationship that turned into something incredible for your business. How did showing up authentically open unexpected doors?
Okay. That's a great question. Um, and I'm gonna give a shout out to a lot of people on this, but it's so
Nice.
interesting. You know, I mentioned to you a minute ago, I've been building all these really strong partnerships, and that just feels so different. So I went along to a Cedar um, kind of education event a
Yeah.
couple of months ago, and just as I was leaving the event, I bumped into this fella, and he was just about to get into the lift, and we just caught each other's eye and just paused and just mutually just said, "Hi, how are you? Who are you? What brought you here today?" Kind of a thing. And there was just that little bit of a, I don't know, entrepreneurs recognizing each other or something.
Yeah.
And that's Lee Bristow. And Lee is an amazing South African who I have become, good buddies with, and I've gone on Lee's podcast. So from that connection, and Lee and I started so he's very strong on the governance side around AI. He's recently joined Soros.
Yeah.
I'd had kind of connections with Soros in my role with Bimeda in the past. So there was this interesting serendipity that was there. Lee has then introduced me to the queen of PR and publications, who is Claire Mason.
Okay.
And Claire's another South African who's here in Ireland, has been here for a long time. And she's absolutely amazing at what it is that she does. And she really helps people to get very, very clear on their message. Fantastic for entrepreneurs. And they're both so authentic.
Mm.
And I've been able to share the challenges that I've had. They've been able to offer me amazing advice. And then Claire introduced me to the person who I've just decided is my new guardian angel, Jer Tanneman. And Jer has a business on branding, and he's he talks about branding in a way that I've never heard anybody talk about branding before, that goes beyond clarity of message. It gets into it goes beyond clarity of message. It goes beyond the actual need of a client.
Mm.
It really brings who you are and what you offer at a deeper level of connection. So he looks at every single thing that you create needs to have a clarity of purpose that is so obvious from the very beginning what it is intended to do
Mm.
and what the message is that you're getting out there. And to me, this is so relevant in an AI world where we're getting really our neurological brains
Yeah.
are designed for laziness. We're designed for survival. We're designed to do the least amount possible. So we love now going into AI and asking it to tell us what we should think and what we should say.
Totally.
And if we take the time to go through the mental strain of, what am I really trying to say here? AI cannot touch how good what can come out of your brain.
Totally.
It's so much better of what we can actually do ourselves when you go through that pain of figuring that out. And Jer's really helped me to get back into that extremely deep space on aligning. He calls it the bridge.
Mm,
So it's the brand bridge, and you as the one person is the customer, and the other person is the supplier, the offer, and it's making that brand bridge on how the brand connects, what the needs are with the offering, so that it's really that it's just seamless. So I
yeah.
hope I've done all of them justice in their roles. But yeah, just that moment that Lee and I met, and Lee and I are now doing some work together in Sorrows.
Amazing.
So there's just really cool stuff that's happening as a result of all of this.
Amazing. Oh, delighted to hear that. Um, and something that that I always love to do on this podcast might not always be comfortable, but just do a bit of bragging for you. Yeah, just look from getting that first seal to getting your first customer, Aer Lingus, which is just incredible, to speaking on the stage at Talent Summit, which is also incredible, to having being the AI expert with IBEC, which is amazing. To what else is there? There's more to having these partnerships, and yeah, speaking at various events, having now people coming to you asking for you to speak at these events. Things I think that things are just really taking off for you, so, which is just incredible. So yeah, just to do a bit of bragging there for you,
Thank you.
Stephanie. Yeah, wow, thank you so much. This has been really cool. Learned so much, and
Thank you
could
very
just
much, Lee. It's
talk
lovely to.
forever.
It is really nice to actually have somebody, give you that support and give you that recognition. Because
Yay.
it's certainly not Irish, and I don't think it's actually. I don't think a lot of people are comfortable with it. So you make it comfortable, and um, thanks. That was
Yay.
fantastic.
You're welcome. Yes, it's not comfortable, but when someone else does it, it's still awkward but easier.
Yeah, absolutely,
For
absolutely.
sure. Amazing.